Hey, thanks for joining me today on Just Cook with Michael. Today, after watching this video, you will know how to make a delicious pesto crab cake recipe. The addition of pesto and Fontina cheese to this recipe makes it outstanding. So the ingredients for the recipe are some crab meat. I have lump crab meat and claw crab meat, olive oil, some Fontina cheese, some green onions, eggs, pine nuts. We're going to toast those. Pesto, cream for the sauce to finish it, some salt, fresh ground pepper, mayonnaise, and some breadcrumbs. So after we cook our crab cakes, we're going to finish it on a bed of pesto cream sauce. Let's do it. So the first thing we're going to do is grate the Fontina cheese. Okay, the next step is to cut the green onions or scallions. It's about a 1/4 cup, just really fine. Again, let your knuckles be the guide when it's slicing stuff. I highly recommend this sharpener. Important to always have a sharp knife. This is like less than 10 bucks on Amazon, and I've used this one for about 10 years now. It works incredibly well. Next, we will put the crab meat in the mixture. Crack in our egg. Make sure our egg is well incorporated. The egg is more of just a binding. You want it to be kind of light crab cakes, not very dense, so that's why there's only 1 egg in there. You don't want it to really taste like an omelet. Just kind of to hold it together a little bit. Next, we'll put in the mayonnaise. About a tablespoon of mayonnaise. This just adds a little richness to it. About 2 tablespoons of pesto. Before we add in our breadcrumbs, I'm going to taste it just to see how everything's going. That tastes really good. It doesn't need much salt. Make sure you taste your crab cakes before the addition of the salt, just because depending on the crab, some might be saltier than others. So I'm just putting in probably about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in there. Some fresh ground black pepper. That smells fantastic. And now I'm going to put in the 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. Now I'm going to put this in the refrigerator while I toast my pine nuts and get my cream sauce ready. Usually I just put a tiny bit of oil in the pan. Put about a tablespoon of pine nuts. This is going to be for garnish. One thing I find with pine nuts also, it's probably always best to toast a little more because you end up eating them. They taste so good by themselves. Either I'm munching on them or someone's in my kitchen munching on them, so not a bad idea to make a few extra. Thing with pine nuts I highly recommend is setting a timer because you don't want to burn them. They're pretty expensive, and especially once they start to color up, just stay by the flame because it's not worth burning them. Okay, it doesn't take long. They're starting to get toasted there. And the main reason I like to toast the pine nuts, it just brings out a lot more flavor. I mean, to me, it intensifies the flavor by at least double. Put a little pinch of salt in there. Now I'm going to turn down my flame really low. So this has probably only been about 2 minutes. Now I'm going to, this pan has some weight to it, so I'm going to turn off the flame just because it'll continue to cook. And after you turn off the flame, still continue to stir it up a bit or else you'll get little burnt spots on them. Okay, I'm adding cream to the same pan I toasted the pine nuts, about 8 ounces. One thing with cream, it'll at least double in volume once it starts boiling, so do use a big enough pan or pot that it can expand into, or else it'll make a mess overflowing onto your range top. 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and it's good again with cream just to get a feel for like how it's thickening up, how it's behaving. You know, right there, it's, you know, obviously when you first put it in the pan, it's going to be very watery. You can see there's a little bit of a trail there, but a lot of times the thicker it gets, the more of a trail you'll get before the cream sets back in behind your spatula. And again, it's important to taste. I think it's a good idea to taste your cream before you put in your pesto. Wow, that is really good. All right, so I'm going to reduce the heat on that. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of pesto into the cream. if your cream sauce does get too thick, you could add more cream or add a little bit of water. Like try adding in a tablespoon or a teaspoon at a time. This isn't too thick. I can tell it's thickening up on the bottom. And if you kind of do this with your rubber spatula, your heat resistant spatula, you just could tell that it's getting thicker. So I'm going to turn off that flame, and that is done. And that is absolutely fantastic. Okay, our next step is we're going to form the crab cakes. I have these little like cookie cutter molds. I like to use those. If you don't have anything like that, you can find any little circle thing that might work or form them by hand. These are like little cookie molds for like 10 bucks on Amazon. A bunch of different sizes. I find they come in pretty useful. Put a little parchment paper down on here. It'll just make it easier to transfer and handle later. But you don't want to pack them too tightly. See, that makes a nice, perfect little crab cake. Next up is the egg wash. So I have about an equal volume to the egg, maybe about an ounce of water, 1 egg. Basically, in this application, an egg wash is just kind of like a glue to help the breadcrumbs stick to the crab cakes. And then about a cup of breadcrumbs. And we'll just go there. You want to be gentle here, very gentle. And right into the breadcrumb mixture. And again, really gentle. There, that is it. Put them there. So really gentle. Don't let them sit in the egg wash for too long. I'm using this plastic spatula just to help flip it over. If you let it sit in too long, the egg wash is going to penetrate the crab meat and want to like almost dissolve it. Usually whenever you're breading something, it's good to have a dirty hand and one hand that's more of your dry hand. Helps it from getting incredibly messy. And I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing here, but I'm getting both sides and then also just gently putting the crab cake on its side and making sure that I bread the sides of the breadcrumb also, or the sides of the crab cake also. Okay, we're done breading the crab cakes. The recipe made about 7 of them. These are pretty hefty. You know, that definitely one would be perfect for an appetizer on top of a salad, or like we're doing on a bed of pesto cream sauce. Maybe 2 if it was more of an entree. Okay, now we're going to cook the crab cakes. So I'll put a little olive oil in the pan. I'm using a little extra virgin olive oil. Okay, the temperature is about a medium heat pan, I would say, and really the key thing here is just kind of being gentle with them. You know, crab cakes, fairly delicate. So you can hear a little sizzle, but the pan's not extremely hot because these are fairly thick, so you want it to be a medium heat so they get crisp, but at the same time they don't burn before you cook the interior. It's probably a good idea to make sure they're at least cooked halfway before flipping them over. That way the egg has already set in on the bottom side with the heat and has, you know, provided some structure for the crab cakes before flipping it. It'll just have a little more stability. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. I'm going to flip them over. This is, you know, be really gentle flipping them over. That's just got a really nice crust on there. A lot of different ways to make crab cakes. This is really nice just because you have that crunchy exterior and you just break through to the soft interior. Good contrast. And once you get your crab cakes to this point and you flip them, you know, you want to cook them for at least a couple minutes on the other side also. But if you're doing a whole bunch, you could transfer them to a cookie sheet at this point, put them in the oven, and finish them in the oven until they get to about 140, 145 degrees. The crab is cooked, but it's the raw egg, that's what you want to bring up to at least 145. And the raw egg is not going to have any binding properties until protein begins to denature around 140, so you want to bring it up at least to that temperature. Anywhere from 140, I would say, to probably like 155 at the highest. And I could tell that soaked up most of the oil, so I'm going to put a little more extra virgin in there. Okay, now the crab cakes have been on the other side, the second side, for about 5 minutes. I'm going to turn them a little bit on their side. Okay, they've been cooking for about 10 minutes. I highly recommend having a digital thermometer. It comes in so handy for so many applications, from testing meat for doneness, for testing the water when you're activating, rehydrating yeast. It's just one of the most important tools you could have. So it's been about 10 minutes. These are at 130 degrees, the interior temperature. It probably has about another 5 minutes. It's good not to play with it too much. You don't want to be flipping them back and forth. These should be really delicate. So the more you flip them, the more of a chance you have of it just breaking and falling apart. Interior temperature is 150, so I'm going to turn off the flame. This looks fantastic. Again, if this is an oven-safe pan, so I could have chose to throw the whole pan in the oven and finish it off, whatever you find is easier. So here it is. Now you can make pesto crab cakes also. I've tried these. They're absolutely delicious. This is pretty easy to do. I mean, I love crab cakes. I think it's one of those dishes that it tastes so impressive, looks really good, but it's fairly easy to make. Just follow those tips I gave you throughout and you'll be able to do this. If you like these videos, click the like button. Thanks for joining me on Just Cook with Michael. Now go cook for someone you love.